for writing my story. I know I'm on the right path. I know people need to hear the message. They need to recognize the flags, and they need to be shown hope. So many times people think they're in these situations and they can't get out. And I'm telling you, and I'm proof positive that you can get out. I know for some people it can be very, very dangerous, but even more people probably get out than I hope stay. But there's hope. There is always a silver lining. I'm a true believer in hope. Tomorrow's always um, the next minute can be a better minute than the one that you're going through right now. So that's my philosophy, and that's the path that I'm on.
Thank you, Debbie. We appreciate you. Debbie's my friend, by the way. Me and Debbie met in Pennsylvania. She's in California, and we took our picture. We had a lovely breakfast, and then we took our picture in front of a giant elephant with big tusk. It was like a paper mache elephant that's for some reason sits in front of a restaurant in the middle of Pennsylvania, and we so you can't take that away from us. Okay, not the smartest guys in the room. Tom sent me a message. He said it's time to reset because the live stream is on. So live streamers, hello, what's going on? We're back. We weren't here the last week live streaming. Tom, what do you want to tell us about live stream? Go on.
So we are live streaming all over the internet as usual. We are live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook. We're live on LinkedIn. We're live on Twitch. And we are live on the website formerly known as Twitter for some period of time to be determined. I don't know how much longer we're going to actually live stream there because I don't know if it's worth it. Anyway. We live stream all over the internet. That's part of what we do every week here, bringing not the smartest guys in the room, myself and Dom, along with all the really smart people in the room with us, right? All of you folks who are in the room with us, smarter than us, helping raise us up and build up this community, bringing you guys out to a broader audience all over the internet. So that's what we're doing. We're live streaming everywhere. As usual, I was a little late getting it started today. Again, apologies for that. But as we all know, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. And for some reason, I have a weird thing where I have trouble telling time. For all the things I do, I'm not so good at telling time. So anyway, I was running a little bit late this morning because I'm a knucklehead. And I apologize, Dom, to you and to everybody else here. But I appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate you guys being a part of this and appreciate you guys supporting us for all this time. We've been doing this for a long time now, man. Like, over a year, well over a year, we've been doing this live almost every Wednesday. Periodically life gets in the way. We go on vacations. I wasn't here last week. Dom wasn't here for a couple of weeks earlier in the summer because, we every once in a while have to get away and go explore and adventure with friends and family. So both of us have done that a little bit this summer, but we're back and just super glad that you guys are all here and supporting this community. It wouldn't exist without you guys. So thanks so much for being a part of it for well over a year now. We should probably actually figure out exactly how long we've been doing this at some point. We should do a little
have like an anniversary, a birthday party,
something.
Everybody could bring something positive. All right, let's move on. Hey, it's nice to see all these faces here today. We appreciate you. All right, come on up on stage. We invite you up. We talk. We're talking about giving up on things. When should you give up on things? It's funny. Tom just said he might not be on Twitter not much longer. I wondered if is there an app that you just want to ditch? Why are you wasting your time on it? If it doesn't make you feel good, if you're like, well, I'm not getting anything out of this, why not ditch it? Johnny, you were flashing, and then we're going to go to Julie. What were you flashing about, my friend?
Yeah, so listening to Tom talk about his time displacement issue, I was just thinking he looked at the clock, 8:28, got in the water and lost 15 minutes in the water. That's called the Philadelphia experiment. He traveled in time. That's what happened.
Tom, can you validate that you?
I mean, in that case, I travel. I time travel every day because I lose time up, down, left, right, and center. I'm terrible about it's the weirdest. It's a quirk of mine, and I don't know how to manage it better. But it was only recently that I really realized exactly what I was doing. It was literally like within the last year. I turned to my wife and I was like, I think I finally figured out like why I'm perpetually running behind schedule. And it's because of this thing that I will look at the time, like I will look at my watch, and then I will get into doing something. And in my mind, it's still whatever time it was the last time I looked at my watch or the last time I looked at the clock. And that's even true on my computer where there's a clock on screen all the time. The last time I looked at it, that's what time it is until the next time I look at it. And so I like go into these time like black holes where like time and space, moves at a different pace than I think it is. And I just lose time constantly. So like, I don't know. I'm a time traveler, but the worst kind, right? Because I don't get to pick and choose and like do anything cool or see cool stuff. Or go back and go back in time and get to see a T-Rex running around or something. Like I just lose minutes here and there and everywhere, and I don't know how to fix it. I don't know. Somebody smarter than me.
Create time blocks. It's very easy. You can create on your. Do you have a smartwatch? You can have timers. Calendar reminders that go straight to your smart watch. So if you're going to swim, say like 500 to 800 meters, that's going to take you maybe 30, 40 minutes. You create the end timer then when you have to get out of the pool, and yeah, that's just, you create that schedule if you need that.
Or set your watch ahead and swim faster.
There you go. Set your watch ahead, you'll never be late.
I've tried the jumping. Believe me, I'm always trying to swim faster. But I've tried the jumping the clocks ahead thing in the past, and it doesn't work because I know that I have that it's 5 minutes ahead or something. And so I look at it and I do the math and I'm like, oh, right now it says 10:05. I know it's actually 10 o'clock. And then that's what time it is in my head until the next time I look at it.
Yeah. Why create a lie in your head? Keep the truth and you'll be able to stay true to it.
Yeah, dang. Drop. Okay, Julie Loken, you go down any black holes? We're talking about black holes, space-time continuums. Julie Loken, partner in Creative Con, where all you should be in February. Forget about the stinking Super Bowl. Go where the creatives go, podcasters, storytellers, publishers. Let's blow the roof off. Let's connect. Let's network. But Julie Loken, black holes, giving up on things. What do you want to talk about?
This is like a black hole here today. And, the truth is that Tom just doesn't care about us. He's just into his own thing.
That's how you should, somebody crop that for when you
clip it.
Clip it. Tom doesn't care about us.
No, I'm teasing. But really, Tom's in his flow state is what I think it is when he's doing that sort of stuff. When you're in your flow state, there is no such thing as space and time. So I think that's what he's kind of hinting at. He's self-actualized when he is underwater. So I love that. Black holes, besides this being my favorite black hole that I come into, and it takes me on a wild ride. I mean, quitting things, I think you guys could all, anyone else who feels this way, especially for my podcast, when I'm like, oh my gosh, why am I doing this week after week after week? And it's like, it's not giving me what the returns. So many times in my head when I'm done and I'm like throwing in the towel, I get that message from the universe. Like something is like Debbie was mentioning, somebody saying, oh my gosh, you changed my life. Or, a sponsor or someone who really encourages me, because I think, what I'm putting out content related can change people's lives. So I always find that funny when I'm about ready to throw in the towel on something or just like exhausted, overwhelmed. I do get that like little nudge from the universe. So thanks everybody. And we really do love Tom. So I'm just teasing him.
Thank you, Julie. And I love that nudge from the universe, that idea, like we mentioned with Debbie, that once in a while, every day, somebody reaches out and says, thank you for this, thank you for that. Myself, I get that the usage is down on Threads, and I think about posting less and things like that, but I think, you got to keep putting out the content. Maybe you'll impact one life there. And then all of a sudden the other day somebody said, "Hey Dominic, thanks for posting on Threads. You're one of the only people still posting there." And I was like, "Wow, that was pretty cool."
Is that a good thing or a bad thing that you're
yeah,
posting?
no,
on
I still believe. Hold on here. I'm going to give I still believe in first to market. I believe that they figured it out how to get people to transfer over. They transferred over their 100 million followers, the 100 million users real easy. They figured that out. The other apps hadn't figured that out. Now the app is too much like every other app, and they didn't realize that their customers from IG were more photo based and weren't as text based as the other apps. So now they have this app and they just haven't figured out how to use it properly yet. But Facebook's got billions and billions and billions of dollars in the smartest programs. They'll figure it out. They'll expand your reach or something like that, or let you talk to the big brands a little easier, and we'll all be jumping back on. So don't give up. The worst is the people that give up, then come back, give up, come back, give up, come back. Well, you're not consistent. You weren't there. So that's what I got about that. But Jason, you flashed. What do you want to add?
I was just going to, when Julie was giving Tom some heck, I was going to be all wah, wah, wah. You know what, though? Here's one thing I learned in business. Never explain yourself, too much in business, especially if you're late and you have to be. Just always say, thank you for being so patient. Because you know what? We'll never know what, you could be a superhero for all we know. And you come in and you know what? When you just thank your public or your company, hey, thanks for being patient. I'm here and let's get started. And more times people are less offended. But when you start explaining, their mind starts going to, do I really want to talk to this guy? That's really something that should bring you to awareness. You never have to explain too much, but I love Tom's explanation. I'm like, okay, keep going, man. But you're good. We're here. We're here for you and Dom, pretty much, and your conversation.
Hey, thank you, brother. Tom, you accept that?
I do.
He's
I
mad.
do. I do.
Okay,
I do.
Tom
I'll accept it.
Okay,
And
I'll
it's-
accept it.
And I know it's all love, Julie. I know it's all love. I got
It is. It's like brother, sister, pulling the pigtails.
Totally. I'm here for it. I love it.
All right, let's move on now to somebody with no pigtails. I wonder when the last time he had pigtails. I wonder if Harry Spate ever had long hair, because I see this handsome picture. Harry's killing it on video right now. So I just wanted to let everybody know, when you talk about consistency, we talk about all these different things. Harry, earlier on, we were talking about follow up and calling people back, but Harry is killing it with video right now. He's consistent. He didn't want to be on video a year ago. Now my wife told me she sees Harry all the time. Brilliant. And it's good messages. He's on message all the time. Harry, talk to us, teach us.
Okay, so thank you for that. It's always kind of you. The idea of quitting something, I think, just touch on that. I don't view myself as a quitter, but sometimes you have to stop the bleeding. I stopped the bleeding somewhere around 15 years ago with my brilliant decision to buy properties in another state. And I was flying once a month to collect rents that people didn't want to pay me. I was bleeding somewhere around $6,000 a month. Went through all our savings. It was a very stressful time. And to save the marriage, I said, enough is enough. I'm done. So that was a huge relief. And I think sometimes when you stop how you feel. And I felt great. And just on the idea of the video, I was talking to someone yesterday, Anna, I forgot her last name, Adams. And she said, and I got this such a great, profound words of wisdom to me. She said, if you enjoy doing what you're doing, then do more of that and get rid of the stuff that you don't enjoy doing when it comes. And it's all about marketing my business and the types of things I do. And I'm like, holy cow, that's simple. And I was thinking, I need to blog more. I need to do more writing, but I love doing video. I mean, that is really easy for me now. So I'm just going to do more of that. And I am not stressed over the time. And if it takes a while, it takes a while. But the reality is, for me, is I'm enjoying it. And I think that's the measure. Like, I enjoy podcasting. When that stops becoming joy or stops being joyful, I'll look at that and say, do I need to give this up because I'm not having the joy in it? So it's not the end game, it's the journey for me. And I will hand over the mic. Hope that helps.
Beautiful, Harry. One more thing. I talk to Harry a lot, so he's a friend, a confidant. Harry, would you explain how many pieces of content you're getting out of your videos right now?
Okay, so like 15-second videos? Is that
Yeah,
what
like
you're-
you record, you take X amount of time, and what happens?
Yeah, okay. So what I'll do is I will create the videos probably around 10 to 20 at a time. They're 15 seconds. I record them in TikTok, sometimes CapCut. It takes me about an hour at max to do those. I then will release them once a day. I will release it first on TikTok with my notes. Then I've got my notes all copied with hashtags and so forth. So I'm just taking them right from my notes app on my iPhone, paste those into TikTok, take the same video, do the same in YouTube. I do the same in Instagram Reels, which then puts it over to Facebook Reels. And then I will do a LinkedIn post. Some days with videos, some days with like a regular text post. But I'm now posting 35 posts a week because I do this 7 days a week, and it literally takes me the hour to do the video. Then it takes me about 15 minutes a day of posting. So I'm not getting lost in it like I thought I would be, and it is super easy for me. So I encourage you, if you're getting comfortable on the camera, is to use it. And I've had people set up appointments in my Calendly because of my Harry Chat call to action at the end. So apparently that works. I never thought that would work, but everything seems to be flowing nicely.
Thank you, Harry. That makes me think about our friend Wally Green that used to come in here. Wally, and I mentioned this to Harry one day, Wally said he did, and Wally's getting millions of views on everything, professional ping pong player, and he plays ping pong sometimes. So he plays ping pong with a slice of pizza. He plays ping pong with his iPhone. He'll go into the streets and beat all these people at ping pong and stuff. But he said he'll do every video 3 times. So just imagine what Harry just said and multiply it by 3. He'll take it. You could make it black and white. He'll take it and change the trending music behind it. He'll take it and change the write up, the text that follows that post around. And now he went from 35 to what's 35 times 3? You got that, Tom? 35 times 3. That seems too complex.
35 times 3 is 105.
105. All right. Yeah. All right. Then he's got 105 posts. Okay. Swifty, you flashed off. Did you want to answer that question? 35 times 3. Now he's just clapping. Okay. Now we are moving on. Not the smartest guys in the room. We do this every week. Hey, if I was going to go down another rabbit hole before when you were talking about one, Debbie said this is not the path. Great title for a book. This is not the path. Then I'm texting with Tom here. You guys were talking about the black hole. What a title for a room on Clubhouse. The black hole. We talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about. So somebody take that. I will come to the black hole when you start that room.
Maybe Dom, we do every once in a while, maybe like once a month or something. Maybe we'll do this. Like, I'm just going to throw this out there. Like, I'm spitballing. This is right off the top of my head. We haven't discussed this previously, but I'm just going to throw this out there. Maybe once a month, maybe every other week, something like that. We do another room. We call it the black hole. And that's the room where we just where we pick a topic and just go deep on it and like dive down a black hole on a thing that has like been come up or been bugging us or we're curious about or whatever it is. And we just like really dig and do like live research on it and just figure it out, like go down the black hole with some folks. What do you think?
I like it, but I wanted to talk about like is when you were started talking about it, and I know sometimes we might talk about fried chicken sandwiches in this room or something like that. I was thinking, man, I want to talk about the Loch Ness Monster. Why? This thing's been around for 1,000 years. It's the coolest thing. Can't we talk about that? That's the media I want to talk about. But yeah, I guess we could talk about media-based subject and not.
Well, no. I'm saying like,
No.
I'm 100% with you, Dom. Like, let's talk about the Loch Ness Monster. Like, let's figure out its origins, like what has interested people, what's kept it in the public consciousness for 1,000. That's what I'm saying. Like let's dig into it and do like live research and like figure it out like live together, like in real time, like with a group of people. Like let's let's do that. Like I'm with you on that.
Hey, here we go, Johnny. What'd you want to say about Nessie? You in on Nessie?
Well, yes, but Tom, how long have you known Dom? If you tried to do a deep dive on one singular topic, he would get bored in 10 minutes and be done.
I think I could keep him around.
Johnny, you sound like my wife. My wife would say that same thing. Some days she says, I can't handle it. Go on.
Dom, I'll teach you how to hyperfixate on things.
Go on, Swift. What do you want to add?
I think you need to pick more of a controversial topic.
Oh no, absolutely not. Okay,
come on.
Go. Yeah, I knew you'd say that. Brian always tries to make get me wound up with stuff like that. Okay, John Wiley, where we going, man? Would you ever quit it? You ever quit anything, or is it 100 years and I'm going strong no matter what? I like this idea of knowing when to walk away from something. What do you got, John Jay?
Sorry about that. My wife has COVID and I've been running around. So here's what I love to tell people: that first of all, I'm not much of a quitter. I'm an adapter. Try to take lessons I learned from what I thought would work out, which didn't, and move on. And how can I apply that to what I'm doing today? Secondly, I would love to tell you that when it comes to like the different platforms and the black holes, that I give something about 3 months. I don't. It's usually about 6 months. And if I don't see response from it, then I take a good, hard, honest look and say, is it worth my time? If the answer is no, then it's got to go. And I'm pretty unrelenting about that. So, again, there's one thing I tell you, there's another thing I do. It's like Tom said, time gets away. So I get in a routine of doing things. And then after 6 months to a year, sometimes I go, well, wait a minute. That hasn't produced anything at all. And I've been wasting, it was 10 minutes a day. Here's a perfect example. Audiograms, free. Cost me nothing to do. They take about 10 minutes of my time, produce 0 results. 0. It took me about 7 months of doing that. And I said, I'm not taking that 10 minutes twice a week. That's 20 minutes times 6 months and say, okay, I could be doing other things that create a return. So if I find something that doesn't work, I move on. Thank you.
John Jay, I'm fascinated. What else, anything else on that list that you'd share with us that you like, that you ditched, that you would audiograms we get? What else? Because I might research what you say. Go on.
This is contrary to what goes on a lot here. I don't spend a lot of time creating videos. When I do videos now, I've started doing some reels. The theory that I use is you'll never see my face. I let people know that. But I used to spend a lot of time doing videos and live streams and a bunch of other things, and they didn't move the needle at all. At all. It just created more work for me to do. So I had to really take a good, hard, honest look. Was it worth my time? The answer was no. Was it producing results? The answer was no. Was I doing it because I had a feel good that I got something out of it? The answer was yes. And it was an ego thing. So time went out, and I just don't do that anymore.
I'm in shock. I'm in shock that John is doing videos. I mean, I love it. Like, don't get me wrong. It's not, I'm just surprised because I would have bet that the last person to get on doing video, just because of where John's audience is and the work that he does, and the conversations we've had in this room before. And John, I think you'll you've said before specifically, like you're not interested in doing video, your audio, from start to finish, and you use Facebook because that's where your audience is. But yeah, I love it. I'm here for it. I love it. We all know how I feel about doing video, right? But I was like, my mouth was agape as John
it was John. You got a rebuttal for him? You want to?
Well, here's the rebuttal.
Yeah, go on.
My thing when I do videos, I did them before, but I was really for the time spending a lot of time and effort into it. I was Be Live, and I did a live show every like Tuesday night or whatever it might be. The audiograms, all those things, and it would just created more work, more for me to do. So when I do videos now, the thing is, you will never see my face ever, because that's not why I'm doing it. And I don't do it to do like a video of the show, because that doesn't work. So for a lot of different reasons, but I create more content. However, I'm very much watching the clock. If like the most productive reel I've done on Facebook has about 1,100 views. Okay, that's not bad. It's better than audiograms did. However, if it doesn't do well enough and it doesn't justify my time, I won't continue doing it. So it's a matter of what produces income and what produces more work. And if the more work doesn't produce more income, it's got to be cut out of the equation. Period.
Makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. I'm just excited that you're doing video and that it's working for you. I'm super happy that it's working for you. I'm glad you're doing it. And if you don't want to show your face, you don't have to. I tell people that all the time. Like I have businesses come to me and they, they're the owner of the business, or the CEO or the COO of the business, or the CMO will say to me, like, I don't want to be on camera. And I'll just look at them and go, okay, no problem. You don't have to be on camera. Just because that's the way somebody else has done it doesn't mean it's the way you have to do it, right? Like, you don't have to be the face of your company. It's okay, right? So yeah, if not being on camera works for you, John, then great. And I'm super glad that the video is working for you.
Hey, I like this idea. I want to just tackle this about not being on camera. Like, even to start off too, you could do like point of view and you'd be looking at something, talking. But some people are uncomfortable. They don't like being on camera. It's weird to them. They look weird on camera. Whatever their thought in their mind is, it could be accurate. So there's this ad on. Has anybody seen the Lumi ads on TV? Lumi, it's the worst ad. Come on, please tell me. Why don't they just, I said to my wife the other day, why don't they just hire Jennifer Garner to do the ad? This ad where they're like, put their face like this close to the thing. I hate it, Tom. So come on, give me an answer. Why don't they just hire like a professional they stink. So
why? Because they want to appeal to the everyday person.
It stinks, Brian. Jennifer Garner is enough every day. Get somebody.
No, she's not.
The worst. I don't know. It's terrible. I hate these ads. I want clap if you like the Lumi ad right now. If anybody like,
they got you talking about it, didn't they?
I'm agitated by Lumi. Johnny.
Tom, do you know that the ad agency that does the Lumi ads, they also do Purple Mattress and they do the Potpourri. They generate millions of dollars in revenue for their clients. Those ads work, as evidenced by you complaining about it.
I hate it. I can't take that ad. It's weird on the screen and everything. Are there any, I guess people wouldn't want to admit if they use Lumi, if they don't use Lumi. Okay, I'm getting off the Lumi subject. Johnny, you're right. I can't stay on one topic. It's a problem. So we will continue. All right, Prof T, nice to see you today. Not the smartest guys in the room. Prof T, new profile picture there. Prof T, how are you doing today? Where you want to weigh in?
Good morning. I saw Tom flash and I thought maybe Tom was going to say something. Sorry. Tom, Tom, did you want to say something before I
No,
go?
Look
Or?
at that.
Go
What
ahead, Prof.
etiquette
T.
that?
The floor is
What
yours.
etiquette? Prof T, thank you for being so kind. Go on.
Absolutely. Love this room. So good morning, everybody. Hello from Philly, where it is so hot. It is not chilly in Philly. I can tell you that today. Love the topic. You know, it's a very subjective topic because when we're talking about quitting what? And I think that, there needs to be a sense of, for me, clarity on, what I'm giving up. But here's what I think is wrong with humanity. We quit everything. We live in such a fast-paced world. We live in such an instant culture, and we no longer have to do too much because if something breaks, we get a new one. If we don't like somebody, we ditch them. If we don't like something, we get rid of it. There's so many facets here. So I'm going to say number one for me, I think that's what's wrong with our world, our humanity. We give up. It's people give up on their families. People give up on their spiritual guider. People give up on their business, their health. That's my big beef today. That is what I want to start off with. However, for me personally, quitting, when you think about Henry Ford, Albert Einstein, when you think about Steve Jobs, all this quitting. If they would have quit, maybe we wouldn't have or see or be able to use so many things in this world today. So I don't like to use the word quitting. I'm going to say for me, I'm a great pivoter because for me, being an entrepreneur, a business owner, and many of you on this stage can probably agree with this, if at first you don't succeed, try again. So we all learned during COVID to pivot, and we all learned to become something or someone else. I would say that I learned to become someone or something else. And social media has been so very helpful for me. It has really sharpened my skills. It's taught me how to do a lot of things I would have never, ever done before if we didn't experience what we experienced over the last few years. And I could talk about this forever because I love it and it's what I do for a living. I just see people giving up on their dreams too soon, giving up on their ideas. So I don't like to see that. So I love to help people. I'm a gatherer. I like to gather people, and I'm a uniter. I like to see people stay in their families, stay in their homes, stay in their business, unless, of course, there are significant circumstances. However, with that said, and I will land with this, I do believe that for me, social media has been great. Has it brought me a lot of business? I would say N to the O. However, it's brought me a lot of good friends. It's brought me a lot of opportunities to get to know people, meet people in person that I would never have met before. However, for me, again, the networking, the face to face, it was, and will always be my first source of referral. And that's where my business is. And I may not have millions of followers, and people may not know all of the people that I'm helping during the course of a week, a day, a month, a year, 5 years, 10 years, almost 20. But I know and they know. And for me, I'll never quit helping people and doing what I love to do. And that's help people become their best self. Thanks. Back to you guys. And all of you on this stage in some way have contributed to my success. So love y'all. Thank you. Back to you, sir.
So, Prof T, just listening to you talk about this sort of, I feel like almost the way you described it, kind of like an epidemic of people quitting or giving up on things. And the first thing that popped into my head was the psychological term learned helplessness. And I think kind of broadly what we have is we sort of have a culture of learned helplessness that has been built in the public consciousness over the course of the last 40 years or so, in particular. Maybe going back a little bit further than that, but really sort of concretely over the last 40 years or so. And what I mean by that is that corporate culture being what it's been since sort of the early days of the 1980s and the beginning of the era of Jack Welch and that kind of leadership style in corporate culture, and the heavy emphasis on short-term profitability for shareholders and investors above all else, was partially contingent on convincing consumers and the public at large that we had to play by the company's rules, right? That essentially whatever sort of game or rules that were set up by the company we were all subject to them. We all had to play by the same rules, right? And those rules were dictated to us by the companies that we did business with. And the truth is that the opposite is true. We've been kind of duped, right? As a society, we've been duped into believing that, right, by companies like GE back in the 80s and much more recently, obviously, Amazon, and even pre-Amazon by companies like Walmart in the retail space, into believing that we just had to make do with the rules and play by their rules, right? And the truth is that actually they have to play by our rules, right? And so sort of they had to trick us into believing that in order to make their business model work, because at the end of the day, consumers, the customers, the people who spend money in businesses hold all the power, right? And the businesses hold none, especially when it comes to consumer facing retail brands like Walmart or Amazon. And so I think there's been a concerted effort on the business side through marketing and advertising, and also through PR campaigns, et cetera, to really sort of convince the general public that we are helpless and we have to play by their rules. And I think that learned helplessness in retail culture and in consumer culture has bled over into other things, whereby when somebody decides they want to try something, if they don't get an immediate result, they say, oh, well, I guess I can't do that. And they move on, or they quit, or they give up, right? That learned helplessness that has been fed to us on the retail side has bled over into other parts of our lives as well. But that was just what popped into my head hearing you talk, Prof T. And the sort of silver lining to that cloud is that we can change that. That we can through and social media is making it easier than ever. If you look at some of the sort of popular movements in terms of unionization and worker organization, even some of the boycotts and movements away from advertising and pushes on companies to stop advertising on certain platforms because of the things those platforms espouse. Take the website formerly known as Twitter as a prime example, right? Like hate speech and basically bad stuff has gone up dramatically in the last year on that platform. And what has happened? Advertisers have left. Why? Because they know it's bad to be associated with those things. So like, regardless of whether or not it might work for them in the near term to play to that particular demographic, in the long term, they know it's going to be really damaging to their brand, and so they've cut ties and walked away. I think ad revenues are down like more than 50% or something on that web platform. So, it's just food for thought and something to think about. That I think we have this culture of learned helplessness that's been kind of force fed to us over the last 40 plus years by corporate culture. But at the end of the day, it couldn't be further from the truth. The truth is that we are not helpless, that we actually hold all the power in consumer culture, and that businesses have to do what we want them to do. They literally exist to serve their community, to serve their customers, right? So don't believe the hype. We actually have a lot more power than we think. But I think that's bled over and led to people quitting a lot more easily on things than they would have otherwise. Just my thought.
I'm going to jump in on that one. I don't know. I agree with you, Tom, on some of the corporate strategies, but the fact is that, there's still a lot of people who would never quit despite whatever corporate does. They find other ways to thrive and survive, probably like everybody here. I'm sure, everybody, here in this room today has dealt with some type of negative corporate structure, like you said, in the last 30, 40 years. But yet we've decided, I mean, you listen to Dom's story, and what he went through and still never quit it, just, picked himself up and whatnot. And I think learned helplessness goes much deeper than what corporate has done. I think it stems from, maybe from the family level, even further, that it's allowed it to sink into people's lives, not just corporate, because I don't care what corporate does, it would never stop me from thriving. And I got to believe everybody on this page, and I know most of you people out there would never quit trying to thrive and chase your dreams down. I mean, we're all doing it in our own way just by the fact we're here. So I think it even goes deeper than corporate out there. And bottom line is, it's still a choice. I don't care what corporate does. I don't care what anybody does out there. It's a choice, and we could all blame whoever we want for it. Bottom line is, it's still a choice for each of us, and I believe it's a dangerous choice that we've allowed too many people to make, and quit. But that's just my opinion. I'm complete.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it. Prof T, go ahead. You had something to add there?
Oh, you guys are just speaking my language, and I don't want to hog up the mic, but I agree with both of you. And it is learned helplessness, because I can tell you from my own personal experience working in corporate many years ago, which is why I dumped corporate, went to my own thing. I went from the 9 to 5 to survive and thrive, because I knew that what was going on wasn't aligning with my core values. And when you work in the field of mental health, I'm going to tell you that I was watching these companies make millions and billions of dollars. So I realized, first of all, I can do the same thing because of my credentials and my life experience and my credibility. So first of all, we can all do and be and have anything we set our mind to. What I learned was, if you don't keep a certain amount of people coming into your office, you get written up. You have X amount of months to do X amount of, well, at the time we called them patients. You still have that in corporate mental health. Sorry, folks, but everybody doesn't need to be in therapy forever and ever and ever. And what I found was, using things like the mind and personal and professional development and connecting people with the right people who can help them get to the next level, I realized that, we are in a position where it is learned helplessness. And that's a whole nother story. I'm not going to go down that road, but I agree with you, Tom. And also, I don't have TV. I got rid of it. I got rid of it in 2018. And I don't miss it. I still don't know half the stuff going on in the world. Sometimes people tell me, and I will see it on social media. Wow. Okay. Do we all really believe everything we see and hear on social media? We put things in piles, and I'll leave it at this. We put things in piles, Tom, I think. Piles of they're rich, piles of they're poor, they're Democrat, they're Republican, they're Black, they're white. They're an entrepreneur, they're a business owner, they're nice, they're not nice, they're athletic, they're not athletic, they're healthy, they're sick. And we just have forgotten our humanity is one of such that we are all human beings. We are all made, I believe, from the same God. And we are all human, and we are all the same on some level. So once we start getting rid of those piles we put people in, I think we'll start to see a difference in humanity. And you're right, Tom. I do think that corporate has jammed it down our throat, what we need to wear, what we need to do, how we need to stay in business. And I call that corporate whitewash. Thanks. Back to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Prof. T. Thanks, Brian.
Go on, Tom.
So two quick things. One, in terms of like what you were just saying, Prof. T, about sort of putting things in categories or putting things in piles. I genuinely think that our predilection for categorization, right? The fact that we as humans want to put things into categories is really because we've evolved to be really good at pattern recognition. And in an effort to make sense of the world around us, we really like to be able to put things into groups because it helps us make sense of the patterns around us. And I think that's really what that comes from is the fact that humans are pattern recognition machines. That's really what we're really particularly good at, is recognizing patterns in the world around us. And so that's, I think, what's going on there when you talk about, categorization and putting things into piles. And then the other thing I wanted to say was I just wanted to be a little bit more clear about what I was talking about with this idea of learned helplessness that's kind of been foisted on us by corporations over the last 40 plus years. And I wanted to just give a really quick example, and everybody can flash their mic if this is true. So flash your mic if you have ever ordered something from, and I'm going to go ahead and pick on Amazon because why not? They're the 500-pound gorilla in the room, right? I think they'll weather the storm. It's not like I'm punching down, picking on Amazon. So, flash your mic if you've ever ordered something from Amazon while holding your nose, right? Like if you've ever ordered something from Amazon and gone, I really wish I didn't have to order this from Amazon, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. Go ahead and flash your mic if you've ever done that, right? So there we go. Mics are flashing. A bunch of mics are flashing. Really, that's what I'm talking about, right? It's that feeling you have when you go, I really don't want to, but it's like, it's the best option. It's the most convenient option. It's the easiest option. It's the cheapest option, whatever, right? When you hold your nose and order something from Amazon, that's the learned helplessness I'm talking about, right? That's the idea that, you have to play by their rules. You have to order something from Amazon because it is the most convenient, it's the easiest, it's the cheapest, even when a lot of those things are not necessarily true, right? Some of them are true, but not all of them are true, right? And often we order things or we do things that we've been taught to do, even when it's not necessarily the best choice, right? And that's the kind of learned helplessness that I was talking about. So I just wanted to share that example to maybe throw a little clarity on what I was talking about before. But yeah, so that's all I got. I just wanted to add that. But we're pattern recognition machines, and that's why we like to categorize stuff, I think. I know I'm not alone in thinking that. What do you think, Dom? Do you like patterns?
I am no good at a Rubik's Cube. I don't know about patterns. So that's too smart for me. I've had enough. All right, come on. Not the smartest guys in the room. You guys aren't taking me down any more rabbit holes. Go on.
Did I lose you at predilection?
Yeah, that was a good word. I was like, damn.
You like that? That's my SAT word for the day. Predilection.
My son's about to take his SATs. Maybe I'll tell him about predilection. Okay, let's see. Okay, now I'm going to switch. We're going to Jackie here. One, I wanted to just throw this out. We were talking about, like Tom mentioned, like going different routes on things. And anybody hear about this Oliver Anthony guy, country music star? Like, it just came out of nowhere, and people, all of a sudden his songs got like listed on Amazon, and he's like topping the country charts. And here's a guy that I read his bio, and he was like, I was working in a machine shop, hurt my back. I made $13 an hour. He said, hurt my back, couldn't go back to work there. Then now he's in some kind of sales, and he has no deal. And his songs are like taking over the charts on country music just by putting them out there and them going viral. And they're good songs, and they talk about, like, I feel that he has connected with who he is trying to talk to. His message is clear. And now all of a sudden, all these companies and records executives and all this are fighting over him. It just, I talk about this because here you go, put it out there, and you never know. You believe in something, you put it out there. Tom, go on. You're looking at me. You know about this guy?
Yeah, well, and I have a theory as to why he took off, and it's interesting if you look at some of the stuff he's put out recently, not music, but in terms of like videos that he's put out, disclaimers that he's posted, responses he's posted to things. The reason he took off, the reason why he became so popular is because some people with a particular worldview, we'll put it that way, right? A particular political bent, found his music useful to furthering their cause, found him as sort of an everyman useful in kind of furthering their political cause and agenda. And a lot of the stuff he's come out recently and posted has said, hey, I'm not with them, right? Like, they're using my music to trying to say that I wrote I wrote the song for them and for what they stand for and whatever. And he's like, and it's actually the complete opposite of what's true. The truth is they're the problem that I'm talking about in the song. But it's because people saw using him as a figurehead and using his music as advantageous to furthering their political or ideological agenda. And that's why it took off, is because people with big platforms like started sharing it around and trying to use it to further their ideology and their agenda. And he's now trying to push back against it. It's going to, in the long run, it'll likely work out in his favor more than theirs, which is great. I'm super excited for him to have and find success doing what he loves to do and what he's talented at and what he's passionate about. But that's why it happened, right? I think it's a very clear-cut case of somebody going, ooh, this could work really well for us, and like basically trying to take advantage of him and share his music and use his music. We see this all over the place. It's not an uncommon thing for musicians to for political figures and ideologues to use music to further their agendas, and then for musicians to turn around and go, hey, whoa, that's not what this is for. That's not what this is about. Please stop using my music, which is essentially what he's doing now. So, but that's why I think it happened.
Yeah, well, I say give this dude a chance. It's pretty cool. So it just came out of nowhere, and that's where I had a note on my paper today, and it reminded me just of what Prof T and Brian and Tom were talking about. And it said, and I don't even know why this was in the middle of the notes today. It says, look, you see me reading: promotion, advertising, top of mind, threads, don't give up, how long? Then it says, who told you couldn't? They were wrong. And I just want to give you that message. Whoever's telling you that you're not good on video, you can't write a book, that you would stink at a podcast, that you can't run for office, that your music isn't good, they are wrong. Keep doing it if you believe in it. Okay, now we're on to Jack A. Jack A. That's how I'm going to say that. What's going on, my friend? How are you doing? And I like this picture you got going on. Go on.
Thank you. That's one of my first ventures with AI. I was like, I'm going to try this. Everybody else has been, and I freaking love the way it came out. I feel like a fucking Andy Warhol. Sorry. F-bomb. I feel like an Andy Warhol painting in that picture. I was like, woo. Okay. So a lot of tough stuff to follow. So
you want to add in about the Loch Ness Monster? Go ahead. What do you got?
Oh my God. Do I want to? But I'm just going to say, okay. So for instance, what John was talking about with the different tools that you have for your business, 100% agree with that. Try it out. If it's not working for you, dump it. However, with ideas in my life, I am the queen of getting involved in everything. I'm a hairstylist. I am a certified personal trainer, prenatal, postpartum. I'm now going on to women's care after having breast cancer as well. And I'm a podcaster, right? So I have all these things. I could have a career in any of these things, right? Podcasting, we know, hard to make money at first. I'm a baby in it. I don't believe in giving up on any of those things. Would I like to be in a salon again? No. Can I make content about doing hair and have people watch it? Absolutely. So as far as the pivoting is concerned and maybe putting it on the side for a little while, like I have this skill. I know I'm going to be able to use it at some point, and then bringing it back when you need to. Like it's been very great for me. And I knew these things were going to be good. Like I had 15 years as a hairstylist in California. It was great. Now I'm having trouble getting my license in Georgia because they're super freaking slow. But yes, side tabling stuff. These are good things to have. I'm not giving up on them, but I know they're going to be useful for me in the future. And that's kind of the way that I look at things. My whole life, I was told, don't be a quitter. Don't be a quitter. We're not quitters. We're not quitters. With that being said, I quit a lot of stuff, right? I mean, I quit drinking. I'm quitting smoking as we speak. I'm a quitter on a lot of stuff. But if it's good for you and it's fueling you, and I say don't give up. Side table it. Maybe you need more inspiration around it. Maybe you need to have more life experience to get to that next level that you want to be in what you're doing. But as far as just saying, it's not, I've had this podcast for 2 years, no one's listening to it, blah, blah, blah. Okay, put it on the side table, live your life, and maybe something new will pop up and you'll be like, dang, that's it. And then everything falls into place. So I'll land with that. Good morning, everybody, by the way, if I didn't say it.
Thanks, Jackie. I'm with you there. I can definitely empathize. I quit smoking cigarettes. God, I want to say it was about 8 years ago now. I think it's been about 8 years since I had a cigarette. I very much know what that's like, going through that. And for 20 years before that, I smoked like a pack a day. So, definitely know what it's like to give up smoking cigarettes and quit that. So quitting sometimes is a good thing, and good luck to you as you quit smoking cigarettes. I think one of the things that really helped me is just remembering, and this sounds a little weird when you first say it, but it helps to remember that the only reason you want to have the next cigarette is because you had the last one. And as soon as you break that cycle, it becomes really easy to just not smoke, right? The only reason you want to have a cigarette is because you had a cigarette. It's the only reason you want to have one is because you had one. So when you stop having one, you'll stop wanting to have one in the future. So just something to remember, kind of try to break that cycle, which I know is incredibly tough, but it's worth doing. So good luck as you do that. Yeah, I'm with you too. I tend to put things on the side burner, I guess the back burner, I would say, rather than the side table. But we all have our own euphemisms. So whatever works for you. You use your side table, I'll use my back burner, and we'll put things there, and then maybe reinvigorate them as needed, or move them up to the front of the stove, or you could move them back to the main table. As needed. But I'm with you there. I kind of do the same thing, and I've done that with my own podcast, which I'm still saying out loud. I'm gonna relaunch. I've got a couple of episodes in the bag. I've got some stuff to relaunch it with, but at some point, something good, the Bite Size Podcast will be coming back to a podcast feed near you. But yeah, one of these days. Anyway, I don't know. Now I feel like I'm rambling, and so that means we should go to Kathy. Kathy, what do you think? What do you think about quitting stuff? Do you put things on the back burner or the side table, or do you just let things go?
Oh, hello everyone. This is such a juicy topic. It's one that I deal with on a daily basis. I deal with it with my clients. I deal with it with myself. Oh my gosh, I have so much to say on this, and I'm cognizant of which way I want to go. Here's the thing. If you came to my basement, you would see the mass pile of unfinished hobbies. I pretty much could open up a craft store at this point with the amount of stuff that I have in my basement of things that I started that I didn't finish. When it came to work, I was known as this person that was, well, Kathy is kind of a generalist. She stays with a department or a thing, and then she leaves it on to the next thing. And for the longest time, I carried this shame of, I'm not a finisher. I don't complete things. And I carried that label with me for a long time till I found out about my unique brain. And the more I think about it now, as a divergent thinker, as someone who thinks outside the box and has 20 new ideas every day on the spot, even right now as you guys are speaking, I'm thinking of new things. The way I came to work with it is realizing that, knowing that I will always come up with new ideas, I will always be dabbling in new things, and that's okay. And that's just my curious mind brain that wants to look for things, and it makes my life interesting. I could sit here and talk to a web developer. I could sit here and talk to someone who crochets, and I can get along with both of them just fine. So that realization for me was huge. And there's a book called Refuse to Choose by Barbara Sher, Sher. May she rest in peace. This book also changed my life. And so what I do now is I have this black book that I have where whenever there's new ideas that come in, I jot them down, I parking lot them, I think through them, I put mind maps around it, and then I just park it. And then another way that I do this is also I go back to, why am I starting something? Does it align with my values? Does it align with who I am and where I'm going? And for how long am I going to be interested in it? Because of my brain, my interest level can vary. So there's this dialogue that happens back and forth, and just coming to realize, if I'm going to leave it, if I am going to part with it, it serves its purpose. And maybe I'll go back to it again, and kind of like my podcast that's sitting in hiatus right now. It's just sitting there for now, but I'm kind of marinating on what the relaunch of it is going to be, and I'm okay with that. So just wanted to throw that in there for those of you that are divergent thinkers and think differently. It's super common. It happens all the time, but it's the narrative, it's the story that we tell ourselves on how to get along with it, and really being okay with, well, moving on to the next thing, and that's totally okay. And maybe one day I'll go back into my basement and finish that macrame project that I started 2 years ago. Thank you.
Kathy, you are speaking my language. She's talking about Tom stepped away for a second. All the ideas that you have, and like, even while people are talking, you're having ideas, and people think you're crazy because you got so many ideas. I hear you. And then how do you keep moving forward? Which ones did you set aside? Divergent thinking. I'm going to look that up. Just this weekend, great idea. I made my best salsa, and then I said I should start a company. And I even thought of the great name. It's Loco White Guys Salsa. Is that good or what, man? Come on. I made a jingle on ChatGPT. I got ideas. What, Tom? Don't like my salt?
Don't do that. Don't do that one.
No, it's bad. Okay, that one was bad. See, I need to rest, like Kathy said. She's smart. Okay, Johnny says no. Tom, what do you got?
I was going to say, you could just call it gringo salsa.
I don't like, that's not as funny. I thought the other one was funny. All right.
That's better. That's better.
Okay, see. I should have a list of like ideas that I had over the weekend and bring them like the next week and say, okay, I had an idea. Okay, for this movie, jingle, chat. There was another ChatGPT jingle me and my daughter made, but okay, we will move on. Dr. Tachi, what, you got any ideas I can steal from you? What do you got? Thinking about quitting anything? You quit forward, Dr. Tachi? What do you do?
I generally don't quit unless it is so. Oh, by the way, good morning, everyone, or afternoon, or evening. I generally don't quit unless it is something that is really, truly an annoyance to me, or I don't want to do, which means I never should have been doing it in the first place. Generally, I try to be, because here's what happens when you're the type of person, like everybody here, that has ideas, and usually great ideas, and has a lot going for them. A lot of people will try to latch on to you as a shooting star, right? As somebody who's doing something and going places, which is great. But sometimes where they're trying to steer that shooting star is not where you want to go. And you're just saying, okay, out of either wanting to work with them or being nice or not having the courage to say, I don't want to do it. And then you end up stuck in something that you don't want to do. So I mean, there have been times like that where I'm like, okay, I really don't have the time for this. I don't feel like doing it. And I start doing it, but then I'm like, yeah, no, I don't have the time. And then I'm fine with quitting. But in general, I always realize that generally with many ventures or most things that I get into, there are other people involved. So I always realize that I'm not the only person in the equation. So if me quitting because I got into it right of my own will. If me quitting is significantly affecting other people, that's also not fair to them. Now, of course, you have to think about you first, definitely, but at the same time, you're not the only person in the equation. So if quitting is significantly going to affect other people, in a negative way, then that's something you need to sit and think about in terms of, okay, well, or how do I offer an alternative? Do I keep working on this until such a time we can, end it, whatever the case may be? And sometimes nobody wants to do it. It's just that nobody says that they don't want to do it, and so it just keeps going on. So, but for me, generally, I don't quit. I keep to the bitter end for many things, unless it's causing me significant strain and unhappiness. Then I will gladly quit and not look back. But I also look at the fact, is me quitting whatever this is significantly affecting somebody else, and how can we resolve that? So I don't know if that was a good answer, but that's my answer.
Absolutely, Dr. Tachi. Thank you. And I don't think we talked about if it impacted other people yet. We talked about ourselves. Right? I hate to even say that, well, I quit because I didn't like this or that, or it didn't feel good, but does it impact other people? So would you elaborate on that, Dr. Tachi? Just what does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a number of things. So if you um and I'm not necessarily talking about quitting a job, but in a sense, there's a reason that employers ask for a certain amount of time, right? Because of the fact that if you just say, I quit, I'm not coming back tomorrow, except in extreme cases, that doesn't give them time to fulfill what they need to fulfill. And it can put undue stress on other coworkers around. Now, maybe you don't give a damn because the workplace has been so horrible to you, in which case they should have thought about that before they pissed you off. But things like that, for example, where if you exiting the equation is going to then mean that other people have to take on the load, which they too are busy, then it's something to think about. Not quitting, but how do you get out of it in a reasonable way in a reasonable amount of time. So that's what I mean.
Dr. Tachi, thank you. Understand it, and it is a good thing for us each to think about on that. Okay, who does this impact? So, do you need to get out? Could you, like people that give notice? Could you give 2 weeks? Could you give a month? Could you train somebody else for your job or task before you just jump off? So, all right, we are continuing around. We're going to meet some more people, not the smartest guys in the room. We appreciate everybody who stops through every week, everybody who came back today that hasn't been here for a while, everybody that came for the first time. Thank you. We appreciate you. Now, this is a certain time in the room. Anybody that live streams, I was thinking about, I would look over here, things that make me smile. And today I'm going to show you. This is, and I didn't even know, I had to look it up. This is my Charles Barkley rookie card. And why is this guy showing us a baseball card? It's the basketball card. And it says, it looks like 2 years on here, but when I look on the internet, it says rookie card. But the reason this is important to me, that it sits beside me, And I don't have a huge collection or anything like that. Actually, because when I was young and first getting married and stuff like that, I made some bad decisions at one point and sold all the baseball cards that I had. Sold them not for a good price. When we're young, we do things that, and I liked these and I cared about them, and I sold them to buy, just to get through. And a couple years later, my wife bought me this Charles Barkley rookie card. And it was the thought that counted. And so that's why this card is important to me. It was the thought because I had given up all these cards and probably had guilt over it. And maybe I shouldn't have done that. And then for her to buy me one card, that's what made it special to me. So Charles Barkley rookie card, that's what makes me smile in my collection today. They also called him the round mound to rebound. And anybody who sees Charles Barkley is a great commentator. He kicked ass at basketball. And people that don't know that, I just want to let you know, man, was he good. He was fierce. And in 1992, he was the best player in the world over Michael Jordan for that one summer during the first Dream Team. That's what you're learning today about Charles Barkley, my card. Okay, we shall go on. We're going to meet a few more people today. Heather Devine, marketing and branding expert, love community leader. What's going on, Heather? How you been? Where do you want to weigh in on quitting, on follow-up, on the Loch Ness Monster, or whatever, Anthony Oliver music, Oliver Anthony, wherever you want to go. We're all over the place.
Hi guys, this has been a great conversation. I've been listening, and truth be told, I also set my little 5.5-year-old off to the school bus this morning for school. So it's been a really great thing to listen to you guys, and there's so much wealth of knowledge and experience in this room. So, you know, there's been a couple of conversations that recently happened that really kind of ties in with this conversation is um, one of my good friends does human design readings, and it's just another neat way of understanding our makeup. Takes your birthday, the time you're born, all that stuff. So she did a reading on me, and one of the things that was really, really prominent and resonated with me so much about my particular reading was that my best way of guiding me on something is like asking myself, and as woo woo as it sounds, I'm pretty woo woo and I like it. Is that you ask yourself, is this going to serve me right now? And it's as basic as that, and staying really quiet, right? All of us have a chattery mind. We're always thinking, we're always trying to logic everything. Like, well, it has to be structured and it has to be like, look like this. But based on my reading, my human design, I actually do better when I'm asking myself. And then if it feels right, then the answer is yes. And if it doesn't feel right, the answer is no. And it's as basic as that. Now, I've also learned as I've gotten older, um, is that you don't have to say yes to everything, and you can sleep on it and you can think about it. It doesn't have to be yes. Um, it and just so that's one conversation I recently had with my friend that really I feel like will add some value here today. And then my sister, who's run for office twice, um, was not elected, but she performed really well. And she sent me a message, said, "Hey, I need some advice. I'm thinking of, you know, networking with these prospective people that are considering running for office, et cetera, et cetera." She's a great coach. She'd be wonderful at coaching other people and motivating other people to run for office. But then I asked her, I said, okay, I thought you said you weren't interested in politics anymore because of what you've recognized is not part of your journey anymore. And she said, well, yeah. And then I said to her, well, ask yourself where you need to be and listen closely. You know where you need to be. Because she was getting very antsy because she's a doer, just like me. She wants to do things. She needs to shake. She needs to meet people. She needs to have experiences. And sometimes it's observational, right? Like lately on Clubhouse, I've just been listening to people. I've been listening to conversations. Maybe I get in the chat and engage a little bit in the chat. But what I'm noticing is that sometimes doing something is not always important. Sometimes just being and enjoying like the observational seat is really important. There's always opportunity to learn, no matter how old you are. And if you think, you're coming off as like, oh, I'm the expert of everything, that's, let's just be honest, maybe you're an expert of some things, but you can't possibly know everything. You can't possibly be an expert in everything, because all of our experiences are so rich and different. So all that being said, it's important in my mind, before you decide to do, take any impulses, is to like ask yourself, is this serving me right now? Is this in alignment with what is important to me right now? I Earlier in this conversation, I heard about seasonality. There's seasonality in life, there's seasonality in careers. I left my job after 11 years, and what was coming really strongly with me was, this is my season of transition. This is my season to like really explore something. And of course, it takes there is a lot of privilege involved with having the vulnerability to step out of what you're comfortable with and step into something uncomfortable. And I realized that I couldn't possibly have made a career change like that, start my own business without the support of my husband, or somebody else in my life that can help support me, either financially or with my child, etc. But all I'm saying is there is a moment of observation, a moment of reflection, and asking yourself, is this something that serves me right now? So that's my contribution today. Thank you guys so much.
Heather, thank you very much. And that is a good point, that does this serve me right now? A lot of times we're so worried about 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 6 months from now, but does this get me through the day? Does this get me to where I'm going? Does this help pay my bills on Friday? Does this help? There's so many ways that you can answer that question and then maybe be in a little better place. So thank you very much. We will keep on rolling. Rolling. Yeah. Not the smartest guys in the room. We are going to our friend Dimple. Dimple, we covered some things today. Where you want to weigh in at, Dimple?
Yeah, I think I want to weigh in on like the whole corporate America part, because I feel like, I was in corporate for many years, and it's just like the environment and the things that happen. It's like amazing how much like people get away with it. It just really is. And I think that's part of the reason why a lot of people get tired of that and they decide to go into entrepreneurship and do their own thing, because literally, you just don't have the freedom, and you're literally like, even though you may think it's a 9 to 5, it's not a 9 to 5. If you have a manager that's a bully that wants to call you at 6 a.m. in the morning or 7 a.m. or 8 o'clock at night, or keep you trapped in a car till midnight, they're going to do that because that's like the culture. And as long as they can get away with it, they'll do it. It's when they can't get away with it is when they'll stop. But there's no really department there for the people. HR is always on the side of like corporate America and the company. Their job is not to help the employees. Their job is to protect, the company. So I just think a lot of people who are entrepreneurs is because they were in corporate and they got tired of being treated, in a bad way or being mistreated. And I think that for a lot of people, once they have experienced that, then they don't really want to go back. Once they're used to doing things on their own, and even if, let's say, they're making a lot more money in corporate, they're making less money, but then freedom has a price. And the question is, what price are you willing to pay or not pay for having freedom? You have to pick. You can't have it all. Sometimes you can have, maybe, okay, a consistent paycheck that comes in every 2 weeks, and then you could be owned by someone. Or it could be the other way around, right? So I think there's a lot of stuff people have to think about, but I think a lot of people who are entrepreneurs are because they were in corporate and they just got tired of it, of being mistreated. That's my opinion.
I mean, I think you got a point there, Dimple. I think there are definitely some entrepreneurs who struck out on their own because they were tired of how they were treated in corporate. I think there are probably a fair number of entrepreneurs, and I would probably put myself in this category, who are entrepreneurs because they just never fit in a corporate environment, right? And that's definitely my case. I cannot imagine anything worse professionally than like having to follow a dress code and go to a certain place at a prescribed time every day and be at that place for a prescribed set of hours every day. Leaving at a certain time, just repeating your day like Groundhog's Day over and over and over again, 5 days a week for 30 years or whatever. Like that is just sounds terrible to me. I'm just not cut out for it. There's not enough sort of variety in the kind of work you do, what you do, when you do it, where you do it, etc. In sort of corporate structure or corporate life for me. So I think there's a fair amount of people too who kind of fit into that category as well, who just aren't cut out for that kind of structure. And that's I think that's a good thing, because at the end of the day, it takes all kinds, right? For some people, they want nothing more out of a job than to go there at the same time every day, spend the same number of hours there, do something straightforward. I forget, it might have even been in the room here, but we were talking, I think, or maybe it was in another call with somebody, but they were talking about somebody who was I was in a call with a potential client, somebody that I'm looking to partner with on a project. And we were talking about a friend of theirs who worked in a warehouse and drove a forklift in that warehouse, and absolutely loved his job. Because it was very structured, it was very regular. He showed up, he did the same thing, he was good at it, he enjoyed it. He didn't want to move up to a management position. So I think there are people like that too, that kind of that fit into that category, and it's a good thing that there are, right? Because it does take all kinds. We need people to kind of fit into every different type of job and responsibility that we have as a society. So yeah, I think there are a plethora of reasons why people are either entrepreneurs or not entrepreneurs. But when you dig down to it, I definitely agree that there are some things that are inherently broken in corporate culture. And I think, again, I'm just going to throw it back to the early 80s and that shift in corporate culture towards short-term profitability for shareholders and investors. And I think that's kind of the root of a lot of the problems that we see throughout sort of company and corporate culture. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. That's what I think of. That was what I was thinking of listening to you, Dimple. So what do you think, Dom? You got something to add, or you just happy to let me talk forever?
I'm enjoying it. I'm looking at you. Look lovely today. I'm looking at it. You're making good points. So I say you keep rolling. Do your thing.
Well, and I agree with Dr. Tachi, what she said in the comments. I would be a terrible employee also. Yeah, there's no chance I would be a good employee to anybody.
And there's nothing wrong. Like, to your point, yeah. I will add to that. To your point, like you said, there's nothing wrong with that. My father-in-law is getting ready to retire at the end of the month from waste management. He runs a big compactor on the landfill, and loves every day of it, smashing everything, running over stuff, going all the big hills. Every time I see him, he shows me a picture. Look at the inside of this. Look at the big wheels on this thing. Look at, like me. If I'm in the same place every day, I'd be like ripping my hair. I used to have an office in a big building in Pittsburgh, 13th floor, window office. And like, you could look over like at the parades and you would think it was like a cool looking office. It was all wood grain and stuff like that. I hated every second of it. I as soon as I got there, I'd be like walking to the water fountain, walking to the coffee room. Then I'd go call my wife and be like, nobody's talking to me here today. And then I go try to disrupt somebody else. I couldn't take it, and so like, then I keep trying to figure out how to be there less, how to go in later. I mean, and it was just more and more and more. So yeah, there are places for each of us, and there's nothing wrong with it. I have a cousin. I grew up in the landscape business, and it wasn't for me, but my cousin worked there, and he used to tell me, he said, my dream job would be, and I'm like, what's that? His name's Cliff. I love him. He's one of my mentors. Cliff, what would your dream job be? All he wanted to do was go to Disney World and trim the hedges. He said, oh, imagine getting to trim like a hedge into like Mickey Mouse or something. He thought that would be the world's greatest job. And for him, it would have been. For somebody else, it wasn't. So, all right, let's continue. Look at this. This says, get celebritized. That, I think this is Aurora McGarry, but Aurora, I could be wrong on that. So if I'm wrong, let's blame Tom. So tell us where you weigh in on all this. Go on. It says Aurora McGarry. 1, 3, 2, 1. I know I probably pronounced
It's
that.
Araya.
Araya. Thank you, Heather. But maybe we lost her. So 3, 2, 1. Okay. Jamie, what's going on with you today? Weigh in. Steer me in the right direction. I'm everywhere today. I didn't drink coffee. I'm done drinking coffee because it's hurting my stomach. But I'm all over the place anyway.
I think we could argue that you never really drank coffee anyway.
Yeah, you and this being mad about my iced coffees. I make a perfect iced coffee, and to think that. And Dunkin' Donuts, I just wanted, a few weeks ago when I was traveling the country, I jumped on, and Tom and Dr. Tachi, they didn't approve of my iced coffees. And I just want to say that Dunkin' Donuts is every man's coffee. And why 50% of them, I saw the statistics, like 50% of the population is drinking iced coffee. So Tom and Dr. Tachi, explain yourselves.
I mean, it's very simple. I feel the same way about Dunkin' Donuts that I feel about Chick-fil-A's chicken sandwich. It's trash. And I think if you're putting, 4 pumps of flavored syrup into a coffee that is weak coffee to begin with, it doesn't taste of coffee very much, then ultimately what you're doing is you're making coffee taste less like coffee so you can drink it. And my answer is, if you don't like coffee, just don't drink coffee. But don't drink a Dunkin' Donuts with like 4 flavored syrups in it and all kinds of other junk and claim that you like coffee if you don't. It's okay if you don't. You don't have to drink coffee.
Who said I was claiming I like coffee? I'm claiming I like caramel with 4 pumps of sugar, or vanilla, or mocha. Those are, come on, I want it to taste like a milkshake. Why are you judging?
It's not a coffee then. It's like a milkshake, right? So like, I just think, like, call it what it is, right? People think that they're drinking coffee when they drink a concoction like that, like a Frappuccino, which is essentially what you're talking about, right? It's a Dunkin' Donuts version of a Frappuccino. Like, that's not a coffee. It's just not. It's a drink with a little bit of coffee flavor in it, maybe, right? But like, it's not a coffee. So I just say, like, but I know a lot of people who are like, oh, I have to have my morning coffee. And then they get into what they order for their morning coffee. And it's what you're describing. It's like 4 pumps of caramel and like half and half and, something else. And I'm like, and whipped cream and, a chocolate drizzle and like 14 things. And I'm like, you don't like coffee. Like, that's not a morning coffee. That's a morning milkshake. And that's fine if that's what you want to have. Like, I'm not saying you can't have a morning milkshake. I'm just saying, call it what it is. Like, if you're going to eat a donut, don't call it, a pastry, call it a donut. Like, call it what it is, right? Like, don't miss sort of categorize. That was a terrible example, by the way. I was trying to think of, like, if you're going to have, I don't know, like, if you're going to have a morning, a donut with your in the morning for breakfast, like, don't say you're eating, a healthy breakfast, because you're not, right? Like, I don't know. I can't find a good example, but anyway, That's my
Well,
point. That's what I'm saying.
know,
Dunkin'
Am I
Donuts
having
scratch
deja
coffee.
vu, or did we have this conversation with Dom before about his coffee habits?
well, see what happened, Kathy, is I was on the road that day and I wasn't in
Oh,
the
that's
room.
right. Okay,
And that's when Dr. Tachi and Tom started having words about my coffee. But so I'm Dunkin' Donuts. I mean, Dr. Tachi, you want to explain yourself on this, or you going to cut me some slack today?
Well, I will not cut you slack because you went to Waffle House looking for a frappuccino. I blame you, sir, completely. That's what you get. Do you have an iced coffee? You're at Waffle House. They're too busy catching chairs in midair. They don't have time for your iced coffee, sir.
And that's basically what they told me too.
Wait a minute. Wait a
Jackie,
minute.
go
I
on,
missed
Johnny.
this story. I missed this story. Did you literally go to a Waffle House looking for iced coffee for a frappuccino?
No,
Is this
hold
a true
on.
story?
Let me clarify here. So when we a couple weeks ago, me and my dad, my daughter, and my son drove across country to see my sister and go to Jake Paul, Nate Diaz fight. On the way there, we stopped at Waffle House. We're in a Waffle House in like Tennessee, something, I don't know. And as I ordered my breakfast, I said, "You got iced coffee over there?" And to my surprise, and I guess Dr. Tachi and Tom's amusement, that I mean, half the places have a machine. They could have just brought, filled up my cup with what's in the machine. But yes, Johnny. So that's what happened. That's what started this a couple weeks ago, and then we got back to it. We went to Kathy. We went down that rabbit hole, black hole, back to it today. So that's you're filled in, Johnny. Hey, Jackie, did you have something to add? Then we're going to talk to Jamie and Heather. Go on.
I did. And excuse Miss Rachel in the background. I have a small child. I believe there are levels to coffee as there are levels to pizza, right? You say pizza. Well, what kind of pizza? A deep dish? Pizza Hut? Wood fired? There's a million. But my layers are I'm dead and I can't open one eye. That coffee's black that morning. It's a good morning and I got some sleep. I'm gonna put some of my creamer in there. Maybe it's the afternoon, I need a little boost. That's when maybe I'll go to Starbucks. I still never get a frappuccino. Mine's mostly because of calories. I don't need that stuff in my life, but I'll get like their brown sugar shaken espresso, okay? Because you're going up in the ranking. So it's like, what do you need at this moment? Do you need that frappuccino, or do you need that like black coffee that's just going to hit your soul in like 15 seconds? You're basically intravenous. So, it is what it is. Like everybody's coffee journey, but that's mine.
There you go. That's a proper explanation. Go on, Tom.
I was just going to say, my point is that at the end of the day, I have no problem with the way you drink coffee, Dom. My point is that, or apparently don't drink coffee anymore. But with all the milk and everything else you were putting in it, I can't imagine that was actually, affecting your stomach. But anyway, to each their own.
It was the milk affecting his stomach.
Maybe it could have been. You're right.
Intolerant as we get older.
You're right. Could have been, possibly. But all I'm saying is, there's nothing wrong with adding a whole bunch of stuff to coffee. All I'm saying is, then if you add 14 things to your coffee, what you're doing is you're making a coffee flavored drink, and that's fine. If you like coffee flavored things, that's fine. But then you probably don't like coffee all that much, right? Like you like coffee as a complementary flavor to sweet flavors like caramel, to the flavor of milk and cream and things like that. And that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying then you don't really like coffee, probably. And I like coffee flavored ice cream, but I also will drink black coffee. And when I drink coffee every morning and I don't put any sweetener in my coffee, I add a little bit of milk and that's it. Like a little bit of whole milk and that's it. So that's my point. It's just like, I think there's a lot of people who think what they're drinking is coffee, and really what they're drinking is a milkshake. And to Jackie's point, you know, those things are incredibly calorie dense, and people don't realize, right? They're like, oh, I don't understand. I got a drink. And it's like, yeah, you got a 400 or 500 calorie drink. Like, that's why, you know, you can't seem to shake, to shake those couple extra pounds, or those stubborn pounds that you're trying to get rid of, is like you're having 500 calorie coffee drinks, in air quotes. But anyway, that's a whole separate issue. But
yeah, we could go down 1,000. You know, hold on. We're going to meet Jamie and Heather. We've been on 2 hours. Talk about attention spans. We usually do this for about, what do we do? An hour and a half. So we're going on 2 hours. You are pressing people's attention spans, Tom. But we thank everybody for coming through. So we're going to meet Cheryl. We're going to meet Jamie, Heather, and Cheryl, and then we're out of here. And then, well, Tom's going to give us a wrap up. So Jamie, weigh in on all this. Go wherever you want to go, and then Heather, then Cheryl. Then we're out. I got nothing left. I'm going. I got more stories to tell you, but I'm not telling them today. That's it. Go on, Jamie.
You guys give me the belly laughs. Good morning, everybody. It's been a while. I love these conversations. I miss these conversations. I've been busy, but our conversations are ADHD and my brain loves them. We chat about everything. Like, you guys were talking about mental health stuff, and then you were talking about like how to get things done, and motivation, and how, our current 40 years or so have been making us sort of lazy and not want to try stuff. And now we're talking about coffee, which I hate coffee. So I'll tell you, I drink zero coffee. And if I tried to put something in my coffee, which I did when I was about 30 years ago, when I was around 16, I put a shitload of sugar and milk and all that stuff. Nope. I don't care what we add to coffee. It's not a gooder for me. But I do agree with what everybody's saying. I love what Jackie said. That's so true, though. When it comes down to my favorite drink, it's tea. But, I like different tea. So it's just like coffee. I don't add a bunch of shit to the tea, though. I put honey, milk and sugar. I guess tea is a little bit more simple. But it's nice to see everybody. I'm glad I got to pop on and be one of the last people to say hello. Networking with you guys is great. I got your YouTube now. I saved it again. So now I can go up there and watch you guys. Nice background. My gosh, you do have a lot of stuff back there.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I pride myself on that, and tell you stories about that too someday, but not today. Okay. So no, thank you. And appreciate you. Like when you said networking, Clubhouse is a great place to network. So be sure to connect with the person next to you, send them a back channel message, whatever. There is a lot of value. Each person brings a lot of value to their business, to their sites, to their media. Check out, see what they got going on, and maybe you can work together in the future. Okay, we are going to Cheryl. Tom. Tom sent a note Cheryl has in your bio. Go on, Tom.
I was just going to say, Cheryl, I pulled up your bio and it says, I do not consent to being recorded ever, but we've got replays on in Clubhouse. So I just wanted to make you aware that this room is being recorded and will be available for replays. And it's live streaming all over the internet on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and the like, Twitter, Twitch, etc. So just wanted to make you aware of what's going on, what you came up on stage to be a part of, and that's it. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear to everybody up here.
All good. Cheryl, if that's cool with you, then we'd love to hear from you and weigh in on any of these topics, share a tip, and then we'll keep on rolling. We appreciate you being here.
You got it. And Tom, I really appreciate you telling me that, because I do alter sometimes. Like, I try not to curse as much. So thank you very much for letting me know. I popped up because I thought what you were saying, Tom, was very interesting, about when people were talking about like quitting and so forth and so on. I think it's the convergence, and you and I talked about this before regarding capitalism and racism and what was going on in the entertainment industry. And I just wanted to say, I think, you know, there are wonderful things about social media like networking, but also our attention spans have gotten a lot shorter, right? And so I remember reading an article years ago with the rise of dating apps. And they were talking about the fact that it used to be almost good enough was good enough, right? And the fact that we are all looking for, well, I'm with somebody, but people are very much looking for that perfect one. And so I think there are a lot of things that are converging right now. I think with a lot of the strikes across the country, you're absolutely right that people are beginning to take their power back from corporations. I also think that a lot of the quote unquote quiet quitting that younger people are doing is because we have put up, we fell into this trap of what life was supposed to look like, what working for a corporation was supposed to look like. And in some cases, it was very toxic, like the fact that we realize now that people are actually much more productive actually working from home. Yet people really want us to come back into the offices. Well, a lot of times that has to do with the fact that these corporations actually own those buildings and they're losing money, right? So I think that there are a lot of things converging at the same time. You know, like our attention span, I think what now it's down to 6 minutes is basically what we do now. So we consume everything in these, you know, in these small bites. So I think when it comes to quitting, there are a lot of things. Yes, I think we have a very disposable society today in some cases, like if you look at dating apps. And at the same time, is the idea that what corporate America had us believing, we're realizing is, you know, is a pack of lies. So that's it. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day.
Thanks, Cheryl. Thanks for jumping up. Appreciate your thoughts on that for sure. And you know, you said you used the term quiet quitting, which I don't like. I don't like that term. And this isn't directed at you. This is more of like a broad thing, for sure. So I just want to be clear about that. But I don't like that term because it's putting it kind of, again, I think that's probably a term that was coined by an organization or an HR department at a company or something like that. And the reason why is because it kind of puts responsibility back on the worker, right? And kind of places them in the wrong, right? They're quitting, they're giving up, they're whatever. And the reality is that the sort of quiet quitting is essentially workers saying, hey, if you are not going to give me a living wage, if you're not going to provide me with a working environment, if you're not going to compensate me for the value that I am bringing to you as a business, then I will not work for you, right? That's essentially what quiet quitting is. And I, for one, 100% support it because I think every worker should be entitled to a living wage. I think every worker should be entitled to fair compensation for the work that they do and the value that they add to the company that they work for. And I think there is nothing wrong with demanding you be compensated at fair market value for the value you add to the company, right? For the work that you do for the company, for the profit that you generate for that company. And that's really what quiet quitting is people just putting their foot down and saying, hey, if you won't give me these things, I won't work for you. And I think more people ought to do that, right? I think, you know, and it's reasonable. That's the thing, is they're not being unreasonable. People are saying, hey, I deserve to get paid fair market value and you're not paying me fair market value. And if you won't, then I'm quitting, or I'm going to leave or go work for somebody else. And I think every worker's within their rights to do that. And it's up to the company to make working for them attractive to workers, not the other way around.
Agreed. No, I just wanted to say, because you couldn't see me, And I don't know why. It's still early. It's 8:42 in Los Angeles. But I put it in quotes. Like I actually did it in quotes in my hand. So I absolutely agree that that is a term that again puts the onus on the workers as opposed to the companies, right? And the fact is, if again, I mean, just facts, if we kept up with the cost of living, the minimum wage would nationally be $20 an hour, a little more than $20 an hour. And yet we still have states that have, I think, what isn't the national not 748, 746 an hour? Like that's not a living wage at all. So I absolutely agree. And I think that what we're seeing now, and obviously coming out of the pandemic and Black Lives Matter and Stop Asian Hate and all the social justice movements, you're now having a pushback to that. And people always ask me, as somebody who works in that space, what do we do? And I'm like, history tells us we push back harder. And that's what we're seeing happening in this country right now is that workers just want to make a decent living wage. And it has become impossible in a lot of areas. Both of us work in the entertainment industry. We know this, especially New York, Los Angeles, even Atlanta is getting more expensive. So people need a decent, living wage. So
Agreed, Cheryl. Thanks for that. And you're right. I couldn't see your air quotes, but I appreciate you clarifying that. Yeah, to your point, I just want to throw this out there, and then we'll go to Heather. But I'll be real quick. The federal minimum wage has been stagnant since 2009. 2009. That's 14 years that the federal minimum wage has not changed. It is $7.25 an hour. That is the federal minimum wage, $7.25 an hour. And if you do the math on that, which I just did very quickly on my handy dandy calculator, that equates to, at a 40-hour work week, that equates to $15,080 a year if you work 40 hours a week for 52 weeks a year. So no vacation, no time off, right? $15,080 a year. Raise your hand if you could live on that, because you can't, right? So anyway, I just wanted to do that math real quick and throw that out there because Cheryl's 100% right. But yeah, so that's all I got for that. Jamie, do you have something to add to that real quick?
Oh gosh, that's a whole nother story. But as a broke Canadian, when I was young going to nursing school, we lived off of 12,000 Canadian for 1 year.
Yeah, and I bet you it was tough, and you didn't want to. I bet you wouldn't want to repeat those years either. So,
No, but I can understand, and I'm humbled, and I love helping people at every stage of their lives, and it's made me the person I am.
Cool.
Thank you, Jamie.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Hi, guys.
Yeah, appreciate you. Not the smartest guys in the room. We've been here a while today, Tom. We just kept going because you all make the room what it is, bringing the subjects up, things like that. So, talking about such important topics that we're like, well, we got to go down it. And then, of course, we get sidetracked with coffee or the Loch Ness Monster. So, Heather, that's what you got to talk about. And then Tom's going to wrap us up. So thank you in advance. Go on.
Hey, everybody. Thanks. Yeah. Tom, I appreciate what speaking on the minimum wage. And that's the reason why I quit corporate, right? Because like corporate doesn't pay. They don't pay for skills. You know what I mean? Like I'm on LinkedIn and I see these large corporations looking for social media managers, looking for VAs, and they're paying them literal pennies. And some of them, dude, I'll like go and look at the listing and then it doesn't even say in the title, but like buried, it's like, this is a internship role and you're not getting paid for it, but yet they want all this stuff done, from social media to copy to photos to graphics to videos to hashtags to strategy to commenting to moderation. I mean, holy shit. So that's the reason why I quit corporate, right? Because I mean, you know, they didn't pay. They weren't paying anything. I mean, I started when I was 21 though, and the job I left, I was working commission. I wasn't even getting paid hourly. So like at that point I was like, you know what? Like even if I don't, like, I started at $10 an hour, and then every year I gave myself that raise, right? So just think about, like, I really do like this conversation, from the minimum wage to corporate to doing your own thing. I mean, I literally just saw on LinkedIn about SAG-AFTRA drafting some influencer program thing. So I thought that was interesting too. There's just, yeah, I feel like it's just like 2023 has become the rights of workers, the rights of the people. And I mean, UPS just had a huge freaking deal. So I think there's going to be more to come, and I'm super for it. And I love that everybody's kind of taking their own initiative to like do their own thing, step out. And I think that was kind of pushed by the pandemic, because you know we all were laid off by corporate, and you had to, like, you know, well, not myself, but a lot of people, they like lost their jobs and they had to be home. You know, I was just speaking with a photographer yesterday while I was on site, and I was like, so when did you start this? And he was like, well, you know, I was doing it kind of like part-time before the pandemic. He was like, but when the pandemic hit, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go for it. And so he now does photography full time and he makes bank. So, you know, just think about how you can take control, and that also is in control of your finances too. Okay, thanks y'all.
Thank you, Heather. Okay, we got Jason. I saw you flash, and then Tom's going to wrap us up. Oh, you missed when Tom was talking about coffee. You'll got to play the replay, Jason. You did flash. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, no, I just agree a lot with what Heather said. You know, what really comes down to, if you really look at things about how they are since COVID and slightly before, is I feel like COVID was the big business reset. They're like, look, we don't need as many people. We have more devices. We have more things to curate our sources and to make it more streamlined. But this also showed something, because I work with farming. When we look at how we receive our things, regional versus corporate distribution. What corporate distribution started in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, what it basically did was it eliminated diversification. And when it did that, it created a lot of havoc, a lot of problems. And it's a long explanation, but I can sum it up to this, is that when we stop looking for the corporate answer to feed us, to fund us, to further us, when we stop looking at that and we look at our more regional resources, then having a self business like photography, or being a speaker or a strategist or a publicist, you know, you look at it that, then you bring the control right back to the person and the people. And that's what America is going through. We're going through this huge growing pain. I mean, you got the fears of AI, rights of writers, producers. I mean, individual rights are being questioned, and people are not standing for it. And the politicians are definitely not representation of what needs to be fixed. So it's in our hands. And that's what I'll end with.
Right on, man. Good stuff all around. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you. That's me. That's all you're getting from me. And now it's time. This is where I go silent because I've talked too much. 2 hours. My head's about to explode. But it was a good room. So go on, Tom. What do you got for us? How could you possibly put a bow on all of this?
All right, so I'm gonna do my damnedest. I'm gonna try. That's my answer. Like always, I try. Right, I try my best. So there's a couple of things I want to touch on in this wrap up. And one is just very quickly, I want to touch on this notion of attention span. And I want to push back just a little bit. Right, attention span. And people's ability, human beings' ability to pay attention, hasn't really measurably changed in the last 20 years, because that's not how, it's an evolutionary trait and it just doesn't change that quickly. What has changed in the last 20 years, right? In the last 30 years, in the last 40 years, is the volume of content that we're exposed to, right? The volume of media that we're exposed to, and the platforms on which we're exposed to that media. So something I just want people to keep in mind when you think about attention span, people have no problem paying attention to a 2+ hour movie of binge watching a series that is made up of 8 or 10 hour-long episodes. No problem doing that whatsoever. So people have attention spans if the value is there. Attention spans are platform dependent, right? And they're volume dependent. So on Facebook, on Instagram, on social media, people have much shorter attention spans, and that's because the expectations are set by the platform that the content is going to be shorter, and so when something violates that expectation, you move on from it, right? But anyway, I just wanted to put that kind of in context because I don't think overall as human beings our attention spans have really changed in the last 30 years, because in the course of a lifetime, your attention span your ability to pay attention to things doesn't really change measurably. It is what else is going on around you and the volume of things being thrown at you that can further that change. And then when we talk about sort of a shift in culture, in supporting, this is the second thing I wanted to hit on in the wrap up. Sorry, terrible segue, but anyway, I'm just going to jump right into it. In terms of a shift in culture towards better worker organization, supporting workers over companies, et cetera, there's something really interesting happening. Now, a few weeks ago, I think it was like 3 weeks or a month ago, I said that I believed the SAG-AFTRA strike and the WGA strike were actually incredible opportunities for value-based businesses to do an end run around these studios and support content that they believed in, and work with SAG-AFTRA to make that content, and that it was an incredible opportunity. And so in the last week, there is something that has popped up on my radar that I think is worthy of mentioning, and that is a podcast called Strike Force 5. And that podcast is hosted by Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Stephen Colbert, John Oliver, and Seth Meyers. That's the 5, right? So they're calling it Strike Force 5. And they started this podcast specifically to provide some jobs and some funding to their staffs who have been out of work since the writer's strike began in May, right? So we're months in, right? More than 3 months in since the WGA strike started in May, and their staffs haven't worked since that strike began. And so they started this podcast to provide funds and help support their staff members. And here's what's interesting about it. There are 2 main sponsors of the podcast thus far, right? One is Diageo. You might have heard of them. They own probably most of your favorite spirit brands. So they own they're the ones that bought George Clooney's tequila brand for like almost $1 billion. They own a whole huge slew of liquor brands. So Diageo is one of the sponsors, and then the other sponsor is Mint Mobile, which is owned by Ryan Reynolds. So not that shocking that he saw an opportunity and took it. My point is that both of these companies have jumped on board to support this podcast because it aligns with their values, the values of their potential customers, and they see it as a good opportunity to separate themselves culturally and as a business from the struck companies that the WGA and SAG-AFTRA are striking against. And I think they're dead on the money, and I think it's a smart business move, and I think it's the first domino to fall in what will be a long string of dominoes jumping on board with this pattern. So I just wanted to share that. both because I thought it was a really good example of how businesses can shift culture and can get on board with popular ideals like supporting workers, and also it was great self-validation for me because I mentioned this like more than a month ago, and their podcast just dropped the first episode last week. So always never missing an opportunity to pat myself on the back for being right. But anyway, that's all I got for this week. That's all I should have. I've said more than enough at this point. So I want to thank everybody for being here. We had a huge room this week. I apologize again for being late, Dom. Sorry, buddy. But I love all you guys for being here and appreciate all of you. Appreciate you, Dom. Appreciate your Charles Barkley rookie card. And look forward to seeing you guys all here next Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. for Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. I will try to be on time if I can maybe fix my time blindness. But in the meantime, have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend. We love you guys. We appreciate you. And we will see you next week. Until then, love ya. Bye-bye.